Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. I'm not going to spend too long in this intro. I'm amped. If you know me, I'm a diehard Oklahoma City Thunder fan, and I know I just made a Thunder video like the one right before this, but then they had one of the best wins that they've had probably within the last 3-4 years, so I've got to talk about it. Specifically, I've got to talk about the guy that's currently leading the Rookie of the Year race, in my opinion, and is truly defining what it means to be a unicorn. So, real quick, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos, all that stuff. Leave your takeaways down below in the comments. Let's get into this thing. Starting off, of course, with Golden State versus Oklahoma City. These two teams have played a number of times already. Played once in the in-season tournament where Steph Curry hit us with that game winner. Then we played again a couple of days ago where the Thunder were up by 19, and then the Warriors brought it all the way back to a 2-1 point game, and then the Thunder ended up winning by 19, I think, roughly, because Isaiah Joe went crazy from three and so many guys contributed. This was the third match of this season series between these two teams, and it was an incredible one. It seemed like the Warriors were going to get their get back in this one. They went up by 18 points in the third quarter. They were up double digits in the second quarter. I think even going into halftime, they were up by around 10-ish. Steph Curry came back, and the Warriors just run at a different level when Steph Curry's out there. Plus, Andrew Wiggins, if you don't know the lore, as a Thunder fan, there are very few players that I am more scared of on any given night than Andrew Wiggins, because for some reason, he hates our franchise. I don't know what it is, but ever since going back to his Minnesota days, Andrew Wiggins somehow always finds a way to torch us. And in this game, after being really rough this entire season, Wiggins found his stride. He would finish up with 31 points, 12 of 19 shooting. I think he shot like 5 of 8, 5 of 9 from deep. He was unbelievable in this game, which is huge for the Warriors. They need this version of Andrew Wiggins to get where they want to go. But behind buckets from him, and Klay Thompson was hitting shots, and Steph, Kuminga was playing well, Chris Paul was diming us up. We went down by like 18 points in the third quarter, and it seemed like the Warriors were going to go ahead and get this win. But then the Thunder did something special. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, being the superstar that he is, went ahead and scored, I think, 15 third quarter points, bringing this one all the way back to just a 2-point game from 18 over the course of 6 minutes going into the fourth quarter. It was unbelievable. Like I said, a majority of it was at Shai. Jalen Williams was knocking down some shots. I think Isaiah Joe had a couple of big threes, and the other guy was Chet Holmgren. And so far this season, Chet's been very, very good. He's been one of the most efficient players, not just rookies, but players, period, in the entire league so far. He's been shooting 50, 40, 90, putting up pretty good stats, being great defensively, but he hadn't had that one game yet where he really puts himself on the map, goes out there and dominates the way that I know he can from watching him so far this season, being a big fan of his all the way throughout college and the draft process before he was in a Thunder uniform. I've been a big believer in Chet. I've been saying for so long that he's going to be the best player from his draft class, and in this game showed a lot of reason why, and why he is the best rookie at the moment. I know there's some stiff competition, but Chet Holmgren, as of right now, is the Rookie of the Year. And in addition to Shai, Chet was fantastic this entire game. We needed his buckets, we needed his production, and there are a lot of nights where he's more passive, just letting the game come to him, and he was doing that to a certain extent. But a lot more in this game, Chet was going ahead and making things happen, taking guys off the dribble, knocking down mid-range jumpers, this turnaround fadeaway jumper that he hits with ease, these threes that he steps into in transition. Chet Holmgren is an offensive weapon at 7 foot. In just this was his 13th game of his rookie season. He doesn't look like a player that has only played 13 NBA games. And I know some people out there are going to say, oh, he's not really a rookie, he's a second-year guy. Regardless, 13 NBA games, and he's already doing stuff like this, and he was fantastic this entire game. But the big moment comes in the fourth quarter. The Thunder go up by 6 after not just cutting the deficit by taking a lead, and it felt like the Thunder had a chance to close this one out, I think with like 4 or 5 minutes to go, and then the Warriors did what they do, and they knocked down some threes. Andrew Wiggins, out of all people, starts going crazy. Chris Paul hit a couple of shots, Steph Curry hit a couple of tough ones, and all of a sudden, the game is tied, like really late in this one, and Chet Holmgren catches the ball in the perimeter with the shot clock winding down and passes it off looking for a better shot. We don't get a shot off. It's a shot clock violation. Rookie mistake, it happens. Next possession down the court, Chet Holmgren gets a really good look at a left-handed layup, and he misses. It happens again. He's not going to make every single shot, but it's one that you could tell he clearly wanted back. And then on the other end, Andrew Wiggins, because he loves to terrorize me, goes ahead and hits a big three. And in that moment, I knew that shot was going to go down, and with, I think, 1.7, 1.6 seconds to go, I had kind of resigned myself that, hey, we might lose this one, and there's no shame in losing a game like this to a great team. It was just really unfortunate after the big comeback. But with 1.7 seconds left, Josh Giddey inbounds the ball to Chet Holmgren, and he hits one of the most impressive shots I have ever seen a 7-footer hit. It was incredibly KD-esque, a turnaround, fading three over the outstretched arm of Andrew Wiggins, again out of all people, to go ahead and send this game to overtime. I lost it. I probably woke up everybody in my apartment building when Chet hit that shot. With that shot and his performance all throughout this game, he finishes the night with a Thunder win. Shea, shout out to him, drops 10 points in overtime. He's ridiculous, a superstar and MVP candidate. Oh, and he did it only on 2 free throws, so for all of you that try and say he's a free throw merchant, go ahead and check that stat line. But Chet Holmgren finishes this game with 36 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals on 63% shooting, knocking down 2 of 5 from deep. He was unbelievable, and a game that has stamped him as, in my opinion, again, the Rookie of the Year favorite. Nobody has come close to this type of performance so far. Shout out to Wemby, Brandon Miller's been great, Asar Thompson, all these other guys, but Chet Holmgren is doing something that nobody else is right now. I think he's established himself firmly as a top 10 center. He's dominating on the offensive end. So far, he's putting up 17.1 points per game, 8 boards, 2.1 blocks, and a steal, while shooting 55% from the field, 44% from deep, and 90% from the line. He's a 50-40-90 7-footer 13 games into his NBA career. It's unheard of. He legitimately feels like a KD light out there sometimes, and he's doing that while being one of the best rim protectors in the league. The Thunder have one of the league's top 10 defenses, and a lot of that is Chet Holmgren. Guys aren't even trying to drive on him. He's blocking shots, he's deterring players away from the rim, grabbing huge clutch rebounds, second chance opportunities, putbacks. He's crashing the glass. He has been so incredible. He's been our second best player behind Shea so far this season, again, as a rookie. And it's just amazing to watch because, again, I'm someone who has always believed in Chet Holmgren. If Chet wasn't on the Thunder, I would still be a massive fan of his. And there were all these people saying he's too skinny when he got injured last year. There were people that were trying to use that to push their agenda, saying that, oh, Chet will never be healthy. He's going to be a bust. He's skinny. He can't really do this in the NBA. You know what he can do? He can put up 36 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists, 2 and 2, 63% shooting against the Golden State Warriors. That's something he can do. He can be one of the league's best rim protectors. He can be one of the league's most efficient scorers as a rookie. He can do all this stuff because he's special. And I think it's been clear that he's been special, but people get too wrapped up in, and it's the same stuff a lot of people do to Victor. People get wrapped up in, oh, he's skinny, he doesn't look the part. Like, the talent is obviously there. Chet Holmgren, when we talk about unicorns, he is that guy. If we're talking about players that don't make sense, the evolution of the big man, it's guys like Chet and also, you know, a Wemby out there that are going to drastically change the position. They're building off what we've seen from guys like Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, these 3-point ball handling big men that can be incredible offensive and defensive players at different points throughout the game. Chet and Wemby are the next 2 guys in that line, and Chet Holmgren has been absolutely unbelievable. I cannot tell you how happy I was when he knocked down that shot. All the way going back to when he was drafted to the Thunder, I was ecstatic. I was like, he's going to be special. He's going to be one of the league's best players. And so far, he's playing like a fringe all-star guy to begin this season. So I don't know what else I really want to say about Chet at this point. I just can't believe how good he is. Like, the handle is there. These fadeaway jumpers that look like, again, Kevin Durant, who the more that he's playing out there, it just doesn't feel like he should be this good. And this is coming from someone who's been a big believer of his. I didn't realize he was going to be this good right away. He's proving all those people that said he would be a bust, that he was too skinny, wrong. And wait what happens when he starts building up strength, you know, bulking up to the NBA. What's going to happen? Like, how good can Chet get if this is his baseline? If this is where he begins, where does he end up in a few years when he puts on some muscle, gets more NBA experience? Where does he go from here? Is he a future consistent all-NBA guy? Could he be a future MVP type player? I think he's got that ceiling in him. I'm not saying he's going to get there for sure, and, you know, Shea being on this team too, and right now, he's up there towards the top of the MVP conversation, because with this win, the Thunder are tied for the 3rd seed in the West and half a game back of the 1 seed. The Thunder are very back, if you couldn't tell, but, you know, having Shea being an MVP caliber player on the same team might hurt Chet in the long run, but even so, like, this feels like the next great Oklahoma City duo when I'm looking at these 2 guys. It feels like the new iteration of like a Russ and KD, and I'm not saying they'll reach the levels of that duo necessarily, but it feels like that type of thing is building in OKC. It feels like those years leading up to when we made the finals, where you look at the talent on this roster, you look at Shea, Chet, Jalen Williams, Giddey, Cason Wallace, who's been doing great stuff out there as a rookie. All these incredibly talented young players, and the Thunder are coming, and Chet Holmgren is such a big piece of that. To wrap up this Chet Holmgren section of the video, I want to take a look at a couple of things from StatMuse. Shout out to them. Two rookies in NBA history have had 35 plus points, 10 plus boards, 5 plus dimes, 2 plus steals, 1 plus block, and 2 plus 3-pointers in a game. It's Michael Jordan and it's Chet Holmgren. Is that cherry picked? Absolutely. But am I going to use it to push this agenda? 100% I am. Chet Holmgren joins Tyrese Halliburton as the only two players with 200 plus points on 50-40-90 splits this entire season. It's Tyrese Halliburton and it's rookie Chet Holmgren as a 7-footer. Those two guys. Joining Chet as the only guy to have 200 plus points, 100 plus boards, 25 plus blocks, and 20 plus threes this season is Victor Wembanyama, the guy that he's going to be competing with for Rookie of the Year this entire season. And by the way, me saying in this video that Chet is the Rookie of the Year at this point is not to disparage what Vic has been doing, because he's been phenomenal. I'm just saying what I'm seeing from Chet Holmgren, he has to be the front runner for the award right now. That might not be the case at the end of the season, but at the moment, Chet is 100% my leader. He's been one of the league's best rim protectors, anchoring one of the league's top defenses, while simultaneously being one of the league's most efficient scorers, doing stuff like, that game-winning shot throughout these games. Can't believe how good he is already. This is only the beginning. And I wouldn't be surprised if from here on out, Chet gets a lot more looks, because it's something that me and many other Thunder fans have been wanting to see with Chet, is him to be more aggressive and just get more involved in the offense. After a game like this, I don't know how you don't give Chet more looks. So look for those numbers to continue to come up. And if he averages 50, 40, 90 with 2 blocks per game, with the Thunder being one of the league's best teams, there's absolutely no chance you can take away Rookie of the Year from him. Also, I want to give a quick shout to Jalen Williams. I think it's pretty clear he's on a star path. We don't win this game if he doesn't knock down some of the really, really tough buckets that he hit in the third, and more specifically the beginning of the fourth quarter. He was incredible, Shea on the bench. Again, don't win this game without him. As for the Warriors, I don't have too much to say for them. Obviously, blowing an 18-point lead isn't great, but I do think this Thunder team is really good, if you couldn't tell at this point by the 2 consecutive videos I've made about them. But you've got to win these games if you're a Golden State team that's trying to compete for a championship. They've now lost 6 games in a row, missed Draymond on a number of possessions in this one. Steph Curry was fine, but didn't get a lot of looks towards the end of the game, which I didn't love. Klay Thompson, it's not been a good start to the year for him. The shot selection is awful. Normally it's fine because he's knocking down a lot of those ridiculous shots, but he's not really doing that so far this season. Like, there were a number of times in that fourth quarter and overtime where Klay gets the most contested look ever, and maybe past Klay would have knocked those down, but he's breaking those shots. They need to take better looks. Klay's got to adjust. Unless he starts hitting those, this is going to be rough if the shot selection continues. Outside of this game, there are only 5 other matchups on the slate. I'm going to go in depth into 2 of them, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up rapid fire style. Mavs versus Bucks. Giannis and Dame versus Kyrie and Luka. Pretty much just a battle of the superstar duos, and Giannis and Dame do win this one. The Bucks take down the Mavericks behind a massive fourth quarter. They outscored the Mavericks 43-27 in that period, mainly due to the play of Giannis and Dame. Giannis puts up 40 points, 15 boards, and 7 assists on 18 of 26 shooting. Just monster game from Giannis, who continues to put together a really good campaign so far. 27 points, 3 rebounds, and 12 dimes from Dame. Not the best shooting percentage, but he was still really good for them. This is what I was hoping to see from this duo this entire season. Feels like they're starting to build chemistry. The defense is still concerning, but when these two guys are playing like this, they're going to be hard to beat on most nights. And they continue to rise up the standings despite, that really tough start. They're up there in the thick of the top seeds in the Eastern Conference, so shout out to them. Also got 46 points from their bench. Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis Campaign in particular were huge in this one. For the Mavericks, 35, 9, and 9 from Luka Doncic on 15 of 26 shooting. Kyrie, 39 points, 4 boards, 6 assists on 16 of 20 shooting. They were both incredibly dominant. They just couldn't get stops at the end, didn't get a lot of contributions outside those two guys. Really, that fourth quarter was the biggest reason they lost. There was also Timberwolves versus Pelicans. Karl Anthony Towns hits a game winner on the Wolves' final possession to go ahead and give them this one. He's really turning it around as of late. And this was after Anthony Edwards fouled out as well. So they needed this bucket. They didn't want it to go to overtime without Ant, and Cat makes sure it doesn't. 29 points, 6 boards, 9 assists, 10 of 11 shooting, 2 blocks. His best game of the season so far. Cat has really started to put together a good stretch of games, which has been a big part of Minnesota continuously rising up the standings. Actually, pretty sure they're the 1 seed at this exact moment, if not tied with the Denver Nuggets for that spot. Anthony Edwards, before fouling out, had 23 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists with 5 threes. McDaniels and Gobert had 12 points and 17 points. They're just playing really well so far. When Cat is stepping up like this, they're going to be hard to stop. Meanwhile, for the Pelicans, they did their best without basically half their roster. The injuries just another season where they pile up a ton for New Orleans. No Zion in this game, no CJ McCollum still, no Larry Nance, no Jose Alvarado, no Trey Murphy III. Ingram and Valanciunas tried to do their best. BI had 30 points, 7 boards, and 4 assists. Val had 26 points and 11 boards. Jordan Hawkins has been really good for them so far this season, giving them a ton of production in the absence of a lot of their guys. 15 points on 50% shooting. Dyson Daniels had 13 on 50% with some great defense. They did their best. Like, they fought a really good Timberwolves team down to the wire despite all these injuries. And the more that I watch the Pelicans, the more I think this team could be unbelievable if they were healthy. It just doesn't feel like that's really ever going to be the case at this point. Let's go ahead and wrap up the rest of these games. The Chicago Bulls begin down 20-1. Yes, that's 20 points to 1 point in the first quarter. Come back, beat the Miami Heat 102-97 behind a DeMar DeRozan fadeaway in the final 30 seconds. Jimmy and Bam did their best, but it wasn't enough to knock down a Bulls team that again had 1.7 minutes into the game and somehow get the W. The Knicks beat the Charlotte Hornets behind 32 points, 3 boards, and 8 assists from Jalen Brunson, 25 from Dante DiVincenzo, who got the start tonight. Been a pretty good run for the New York Knicks. They're now, I think, 8-4 on the season, so putting together some good basketball. Meanwhile, for the Hornets, Brandon Miller had 29 points. Really low-key great rookie season from him so far, and LaMelo Ball, again, went crazy, 34, 5, and 9. Just doesn't get a lot of help usually. And finally, the Grizzlies beat the Spurs behind 26 points from Bane, 27 from Jaren Jackson Jr. Marcus Smart is now out with injury. They just cannot catch a break, but do manage to get their third win on the season. Meanwhile, for the Spurs, Wemby has 19 points, 13 boards, and 8 blocks. Monster defensive performance. It just wasn't enough because there really isn't a ton of offense on that Spurs team. And yeah, with all that being said, those are my thoughts on these games. Let me know down below in the comments what your takeaways were. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. And let me know what you think about the Thunder. Again, I know I made a video on them the other day. I try not to talk about teams twice in a row, but I'm sorry. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm a Thunder fan. I'm biased. Let me know what you think about Chet Holmgren. Should he be the Rookie of the Year? What's his ceiling? How good do you think he could be? What about Shea? Could Shea win MVP? How high could he and Chet go as a duo? Just go ahead and leave me some Thunder praise down below. I'm not going to complain. But yeah, for right now, I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Everyone, stay back.